What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. A whole bunch of stuff to talk about today. We also had a bunch of games come out today. Gonna be playing a lot of Rocket League and a lot of LA Noire today. Probably mostly Rocket League though, because I love that game and it's so weird to see it on a portable system. It just is. But we also have a lot of stuff to go over today. Mostly EA, messing everything up in what should be an easy game to sell. No questions asked. They're just doing some stupid stuff, and people are so mad at them to the point where they've actually changed some of their business strategy with the game completely just from fan outcry. So this is going to be interesting. Let's get started. So if you missed it yesterday, there is massive issues everywhere. It was a big mess with EA, this whole situation leading up to Battlefront 2's release. It's bad. There's so much stuff everywhere, and people are trying to figure out what is in this game because there are people saying things about this game that are different from each other. It's all over the place, and what a lot of people are saying is there are serious allegations right now against EA providing different experiences, whether you're reviewing the game or you're in early access currently, because they did have an early access release for people. And they are saying it costs a ton of credits to unlock different characters. Say Luke Skywalker or Darth Vader, for example, 60,000 credits. Now you may be asking, that sounds like a lot, and that's because it is. It absolutely is. It takes, according to some, with calculations, up to 40 hours to unlock just one. Of course, you can bypass this pretty easily. You pay some money, you get loot boxes, you get credits and everything out of those as well. You get raw materials that you then sell and all this stuff. Basically, if you put money in, you can get to these characters faster that are very powerful on the battlefield. They're meant to kind of be like endgame characters that you really build up towards and feel accomplishment. And I don't think anyone would have a problem with that if it was fair across the board and it wasn't providing someone a very quick way to the end by just putting money in. That's the real problem that this whole thing stems around. When we got to a point where they were trying to damage control on Reddit, and at this point, EA has the most downvoted post on Reddit that I've ever seen, and that turns out that's because it's the most downvoted post ever on Reddit. They seriously hold the record for it, just trying to defend this game. It's absolutely insane right now. Now, the allegations that came out around EA were saying things like reviewers had a much easier time unlocking the endgame characters because it was only 10,000 for some of them, and they were a little confused why others who were in early access were saying it was 60,000. So there were different views going all over the place, and they started to figure out that maybe EA was providing people who were reviewing it an easier path so that they wouldn't attack the microtransactions as bad. Trust me, I've seen some reviews come out where they've given the game a 4 out of 10, and they have cited pretty much the microtransactions as the biggest problem because it breaks the gameplay. So of course they might want to give reviewers an easier time to get to the end. Now I've also talked to some reviewers who maybe aren't as high as, like an IGN or something. Some other reviewers said that they didn't have that issue. So I'm not really sure where that lies. I'm not really sure if people are just making it up or not, but the allegations are out there. Now, after all of this backlash, it's been massive. EA has now come out and they have addressed kind of the end game issues, the grind as you would say, and they have lowered some of the characters down 75%. That's right, they've cut the cost of some of these characters down 75%. A great example, instead of 60,000 for someone like Luke Skywalker or Darth Vader, it's now 15,000 credits. So it then cuts that 40-hour grind down to 10 hours, which is fine, I think. Now, it doesn't really address the issue of people just buying in. In fact, I think that just makes it so that if they buy in, they'll get all the characters. They'll get everyone much easier. But of course, it makes it easier for free-to-play people to get there. Now, you might be saying, oh, great, problem solved, right? Not really. So there are other issues now coming out as well. One example here is Andrew Reiner actually posted that, well, there's a time limit in arcade mode for how many credits you can earn. You get to a certain point, and then they lock you out for, in his post, 14 hours. You know where that happens as well? Well, it happens with my cell phone games where you build cities and they lock you out because, oh, the city needs 17 hours to build, and that's in a free-to-play game, not a $60 game. When I saw that, I was shocked. That's as blatant as it gets to tell you to go buy credits, right? They want to introduce a grind without making you feel like they're introducing a grind to you, and they're not doing a good job. Now, according to their post that they made where they deliver the news that it'll be 75% 50% off these characters. They said it's going to be an ongoing thing. They're going to continuously try to work this out. And what they really want to tell you is, we want to continuously try to work this out so that we could still make a lot of money by making you feel like you need to buy credit without you realizing that you feel like you have to buy credits. It's a whole thing, and I don't expect it to get any better. I do expect them to keep sweating, because at this point, I'm going to tell you now, there's no way they're going to reach the same sales as the first Battlefront that they released. Of course, the original Battlefront sold 15 to 16 million. I have no idea how this one could do that with kind of at the time there was a massive buildup because the new Star Wars movie was coming out. We hadn't had a Star Wars movie in a long time. Now we've had a couple. I feel like it's not as hyped as it was when it was first coming out. So I feel like EA is sweating a little bit, and that's why they've done things like discount the characters at the end game. According to some, the end game credits you get from the campaign also discounted 75%. Instead of 20,000, they give you 5,000 now. Oh, there you go. So it's going to be interesting. I'm going to keep tabs on this, because when reviews start coming out, it's going to get interesting, because EA puts a lot of people's bonuses or extra things into Metacritic scores. So if these loot boxes affect the Metacritic scores that badly, EA is going to have pretty much done themselves in with their own greed. So this is going to be really interesting. Next up, let's talk about a very interesting crossover. We just saw the Ninja Turtles join in with Injustice 2, and once you know it, Bandai announces that Noctis from Final Fantasy 15 will be joining Tekken 7, which is so weird. But I saw it, I was like, wow, that's probably the closest Final Fantasy 15 fans will get to 60 frames per second. As a joke, I'm just kidding. When the PC version comes out, we'll get there. But it's pretty cool to see. I don't really know how this happened, although it's pretty clear that Square is going to be doing a lot to make their money back for Final Fantasy. I have a feeling they're getting a nice little kickback from this particular DLC without too much work from them, other than just giving the rights to use Noctis to Bandai for Tekken 7. It's cool, I guess. It's a cool little crossover. Looks like they have a new stage and everything. It's not due out until spring of 2018, so you have a little bit of time. No word on price as far as I can tell right now. Just know, hey, in a few months, you'll be able to play as Noctis from Final Fantasy 15 in Tekken 7. I just talked about how Rocket League had come out. It's now out and available for purchase. And if you're wondering how it performs on the Switch, well, in a recent Reddit AMA, the developers gave us an idea of resolution and pretty much ensured that it's 60 frames because the resolution is completely dynamic. Now, they gave us an idea. Okay, so when it's docked, you're looking at 720p generally. Pretty much all the time from they're saying it's going to be 720p, but when in handheld mode, it could drop as low as 576p. Good news is they said it will be 60 frames per second across the board, which I prefer. I don't want Rocket League to be cut down to 30, because Rocket League is a game that really plays well when it's running at 60 frames per second. I think anyone who has played Rocket League for any bit of time would tell you that game does need 60 frames per second to at least be competitive. If you want to actually play and have fun, generally a frame rate is more important, and I am fine with it dropping resolution when in handheld mode, because that screen is small enough where it will hide that. But in dock mode, I'm glad that they managed to get 720p out of it. They also said, at this point, we will continue to work on it after launch, so post-launch now, basically. They'll continue working on it, and we'll see further optimization and patches going forward. And just not sure when. Just as long as they continue to work on it and make it better, fix it with bugs, and maybe make the resolution a little better, I'm all for it. Next up, let's talk about the UK sales charts, because it does include the Xbox One X. Now, according to sources, the Xbox One X had a great opening week in the UK. In fact, it matched the Switches after they do when they do these numbers, they can't get numbers from everywhere, so they have to estimate and then kind of add like a 20% weight in is what they do. So they try to calculate and estimate as best they can, but they did give us at least some raw numbers that they had, and then they gave us numbers after they did some estimations to try to figure it all out. They do this with Nintendo Switch, with the PS4. They do it with all systems, not just the Xbox, just so everyone's aware. But according to them, the Xbox One X actually matched the Switch's first week sales in the UK, which is pretty good. That's at 80,000 units. Raw data they collect on the Xbox One X put it at 67,000 units, but it outsold the PS4 Pro in its first week, and it matched the Switch. So overall, I'm a little surprised, because the Xbox One X is much more expensive than either one. It's $200 more expensive than the Switch, and it's $100 more expensive than the PS4 Pro. I mean, it's a $500 system, and it sold 80,000-ish units with their estimations over the week. That's pretty good. I'm honest, I'm surprised. I didn't think it would do that well. And they did say, Aaron Greenberg did say, that it's more in the NPDs by a good bit in the United States and other places. So I'm going to be very curious to see how many Xbox One X's they sold, because, hey, it looks like it's doing well. Much better than I expected, but hey, it's great to see video games doing well. It's great to see Microsoft has a new system on the block here that's actually doing some business. So now it's all about bringing the games. Microsoft, you got the system. Let's bring the game. We can also take a quick look at the games on the charts. They had Call of Duty WW2 at the top as expected, FIFA 18, Assassin's Creed Origins, Need for Speed Payback, which is higher than I'd like it to be because that is a heavy loot box game. Sonic Forces actually number 5. Wow, good for Sonic Forces. Super Mario Odyssey falls number 6. Forza Motor 7, that's actually still up there at number 7. That's a little surprising. To be honest, Forza Horizon 3 is still sticking in there. Gran Turismo Sport, and then Football Manager 2018. If you're curious where Doom is, since that also released on the Switch, that's down at number 16. But that is actually up from number 23 since it is out on the other systems, and the Switch obviously boosted it up. In our last bit of news, let's talk about Ace Attorney, because according to Capcom, it's coming to the Nintendo Switch. They had an interview with our good buddy Takashi Machizuki, the person from the Wall Street Journal that has done a lot of Switch-related news, and according to him, the COO of Capcom talked about how Ace Attorney would be a title going to the Switch in the future, specifically probably next financial quarter, or next financial year, I should say, when they start up with all of the games they're going to be putting out for the Switch. Capcom was another company that said that they weren't aware that the Switch do so well, and they probably should have worked a little harder on the games they put there. But what's very interesting here is Capcom is apparently putting multiple Ace Attorney games on here. This is according to Kotaku UK, where they talk about, well, several compilations and even a new Ace Attorney game coming to the Switch. Now, according to Kotaku UK, based on 2 independent sources that they have found, Capcom currently has plans for 3 Ace Attorney games for the Switch. The company, Capcom, is planning to release 2 compilations in the first half of 2018-2019 financial year. So that's going to be between April and October of 2018, somewhere in there. And a compilation is going to include a few. So the first one's going to have the first 3 Ace Attorney games, and then the second one is going to have 4 through 6 in the series. Now, this makes sense because they've already ported these games to iOS devices, things like that. So it'd be so easy to take it and move it over to something that also has an ARM chipset. Now, according to them, in the back half of that year, well, they'd be looking to do a full new mainline game in the Ace Attorney series, and it would come out on mobile devices, and it would come out on the Switch at the same time, and it's going to star Phoenix Wright. So this is going to be interesting if you're an Ace Attorney fan. I'm sure you are super excited right now to have all these games going to the Switch. It's interesting that they are pushing to mobile devices, although I think that game would work fine on mobile devices. It's already set up for single screen use at this point, so moving to the Switch is going to be super easy. In fact, they'll probably just be developing one version and just moving it across the board to either one, since it's all mobile hardware anyway. But I'm sure you're excited. If you're an Ace Attorney fan, yeah, get excited, because it looks like it's going to be a full year packed full of them, so get ready. And that's it for Newswave today, guys. Make sure you comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. You guys liking the videos help a lot, so I really appreciate you hitting the thumbs up button if you enjoy these daily news segments we do every weekday morning. Let me know what you think about any of the stuff we talked about today. I'm sure you want to be loud and vocal about EA, because it's not looking good from what I'm seeing with Battlefront 2, which is a shame because I love Star Wars. I don't really understand. How can you mess up Star Wars? Seriously, video games and Star Wars, that should be like the easiest video game to make. There's so much lore to get into. There's so many spaces in the story where you can pretty much put an entire video game, like we saw with Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2, where you can fit an entire new story in there. The universe is so big, and it's just like they're ruining it with these weird business practices. Even if they have Battlefront 2, just don't touch the one that you had working from Visceral. Please don't mess that one up. I wanted a single player game that was all about the story from Star Wars, because I just like the lore. It's just... Also, let me know what you think about the Xbox One X sales in the UK. Are you surprised, or were you expecting it to sell well in its first week? I mean, it's the first week, right? Generally, systems sell well when they first come out, whether it's because scalpers want to try to flip them, or people just get really excited, like myself, and just want that new shiny piece of hardware. Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.